And welcome inside episode 75 of Breaking Bats, presented by Not For Long Media. My name is Justin Ayers, and I am joined, as always, by Kait Maniscalco, riding shotgun once again. Kait, I was looking around at the news of the day. We're taping this on Tuesday, coming out on Wednesday. I don't know if it's the biggest news, but it might be the funniest news, is that Alek Manoah, we talked about it, he was sent down to the rookie complex league. He was in the pitching lab for a long time, trying to rehone the stuff that made him third in the AL Cy Young. But he was beat up in his first start, 11 runs, 2 2/3 innings at the rookie complex league, facing 17 to 20-year-olds. Did you foresee this? I mean, you're a big fan of the term pitching lab, but I think you, along with all of us, thought that he would go down there and have a little bit more success than that. So, not great. Yeah,
just a little bit more. 2 2/3 innings knocked out was a little surprising. I also thought it was strange, but Justin reminded me that he was in the pitching lab, that was his first start, but I guess he was working on mechanics. I don't know what happened. I think, especially with the caliber of players that he's facing, I don't understand how that happened. Justin, do you want to mention the thing that you saw on Twitter that?
Well, just like Brandon McCarthy pitched in the league forever, and he tweeted that, like, and I thought the same thing too, because I had heard other pitchers talk about when, like, in spring training, you can't really look at spring training stats. It's kind of along the same lines, because it's like, if pitchers are working on a specific thing, like if that start in spring, it's like, I want fastballs down and away. It's all I'm throwing today. Like, right. Sometimes they'll just do that to like work on it and like don't look at the stats. But Brandon McCarthy said this is probably a smaller deal than it looks. If he's working on very specific things in the zone, super aggressive minor league hitters will tee off. If he was trying to be competitive, then So I thought that was a pretty good summation of 11 earned runs, 10 hits, 3 strikeouts though, and 2 walks for Alek Manoah. Just a tough scene. But I came in over the top rope and had my own tweet about this. I just thought it'd be funny if the Blue Jays, they keep moving Alek Manoah down and facing lower and lower and like younger and younger competition until like he can finally prove he can get people out. So like 17 to 20-year-olds in the complex league teeing off. What if we get down the ladder? What if we get like some of the Little League World Series teams in Williamsport? What if they come out? I don't know, just to get his confidence back. The guy's probably rattled.
Absolutely. That's what I'm thinking, the confidence level. How are you going to go back to the majors if that's what's happening in the complex league? Clearly the pitching lab isn't working. So we need to go back into the lab, figure some more things out, and then try again. But again, the thing that you mentioned about working on a specific pitch, that makes a little bit more sense, because those numbers were extremely, extremely alarming. If you just take a quick glance and go, oh no, what the heck happened to Alek Manoah? Yeah. I'm curious if the team will come out with a statement about it, or like the pitching coach is saying, oh yeah, no, he was working on something. Have no fear. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, he was throwing exclusively softballs down the middle today. So don't read into it. Also, they said both players he allowed a home run to were born in 2004. So
oh my gosh,
we're getting younger. We're getting younger. All the dads out there. Yep, I've made this joke before, but yeah, you have multiple items of clothing, probably decades older than these kids that were teeing off on Alek Manoah today. So tough, sad day, bad day.
Tough.
It's a tough scene out there. But we have a lot of other news to talk about this week. We have some fun rants coming up, but I'm gonna let Kait do the leadoff and talk a little bit about the Rays.
Tampa Bay Rays. All right. So some pretty interesting news happened. Wanda Franco was benched last week for not being the best teammate, in the words of manager Kevin Cash. He said there wasn't a specific example. Like, the media did ask him, is there something specific that he did? What's going on? There were a couple altercation between him and Randy Arozarena, not hustling down the first base line, even with balls in the infield. I'm very passionate about that. You should always be hustling, unless you're Giancarlo Stanton, slamming bats in the dugout, throwing equipment, all of that good stuff. So he was doing that, benched. A lot of his teammates came out. They showed a lot of support, which was great, because eventually now he's back in the lineup. I thought, though, in my opinion, that was an excellent move for the Tampa Bay Rays, especially someone so young. That emotion is going to get to your head a little bit. And teams particularly do so much better when the chemistry is aligned. And if you're going up to veterans and having altercations with them and slamming your equipment in the dugout, it's just a recipe for disaster. I think from their standpoint, they said, we're just going to like nip this in the butt early. They've been so successful this year, obviously first in the AL East. I believe they still have the best winning percentage in baseball. And to just get ahead of this early before it starts bundling up and then the All-Star break happens and it's still being an issue, I thought that was a great move. And it does appear that he's been better since then.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's interesting with him because it's like he's the best player on the team, and I think they sat him for 2 games. I guess they kind of thought that they had the luxury of they can be without him for 2 games, especially because if it will lead to like long term, he won't do the things he was doing again. Like I could see how that would be productive. But when I first heard that he was like taking a seat and working on some stuff and working on like what you said, like the hustling, the altercations, all that stuff, it was like, really? Like, could this be handled? It's like at my job. It's like instead of a meeting, like, could this be an email? Could this be could this be a conversation?
Right.
But I guess it worked. And also in his first game back, the guy mashed a home run. But yeah, if the Rays were like struggling or if they were like fighting deep in like the standings race, I don't know if they would have made him sit out 2 games. That felt like a luxury that they felt like they had.
Yes. No, I completely agree with that. And I think also to the point is because they were so ahead, they exactly what you said, they had the luxury. He can sit out, he can, and then come back. I do find that a lot of other teams don't do that with their players. And then fans are getting very aggravated that they're consistently making mental mistakes in the field, not hustling. So again, in my opinion, I thought that was a great call.
Well, this is like what we talked about last week with Brian, with Josh Donaldson. Cause like there's some Yankees fans online that are like, oh, you got picked off. You got to take him out. Got to set the tone. We're the Yankees. You don't do that, or whatever mental lapse of judgment happens on the field. It's like, hey, you got to sit him down. It's like, well, or I feel like you probably could get away with it with a 22-year-old like him, just like we talking about, like get this out of the way early, nip in the bud early, just like make sure this never happens again. But like with a 37-year-old Josh Donaldson, I don't really think you could be like, sorry, bud, not today, not in this league. Take that crap out of here. Like I don't think you can really do that with Donaldson.
Yes. And that's what Brian was saying. He said, it's tough for Boone because he has so many veterans on the team to kind of sit them down and be like, what are you guys doing? That's a difficult conversation to have. You're totally right with the fact that he's so much younger. And especially if the veterans are going up to him and making comments about it, that's perfect.
Yeah. And my favorite part about all this was Zach Eflin. The guy's been on the Rays for like months. Just signed this offseason, is a pitcher, not even a position player, but for a pitcher who has just got there to, like, I read that he signed up for Spanish language courses on Babbel just so he could talk to Wanda Franco, and like took him under his wing. And there's a great quote. It's a little long, but I'll still read it. I'm always there for him. I'm not going to stop loving him. I think some people in this world need that. Some people don't come from normal families or whatnot. I try to not get too deep with it, but I'm just trying to relate to him as much as possible and let him know that I'm not going to give up on him. Nobody's going to give up on him. That's like the most wholesome, like, I thought that was good. So I feel like that should make everybody out there feel warm and fuzzy inside, because I'm sure Wander Franco really appreciated it. And Zach Eflin just seems like the nicest human on earth. So want to give a little shout out there.
I love that. I think Trisha Whitaker also did an interview with Zach Eflin and his wife, Reese. Oh, so wholesome. It really gave such an inside look on him. I just think he's fantastic. It was so sweet. They were too smitten in love. They were doing the interview. She goes, this is just what I love about you. You're so caring. I'm like, this is great. We need more of this. More of these in-depth interviews.
Zach Eflin's an first team all good guy. Yeah, that guy's the best. So yeah, I think people try to make this a bigger story than it really was. It was really more of an internal team thing. But yeah, it was just like, I'm sure the Rays players felt awkward being asked about this by the media, or just like people in general, like, hey, what the heck's going on with this guy, huh? Like, I don't know. I feel like if it's more of an internal thing. Kevin Cash had some really, really good statements out there, basically echoing the same sentiment that we had. So, that might just be classic media trying to blow something, make a mountain out of a molehill.
Always.
So it was a tough thing to go through. Okay. Next up, MLB London series. I'm going to start with a question. I didn't know this was happening. Did you know this was happening ahead of time?
Yes.
I didn't.
You didn't know this was happening?
No, I turned on my TV this weekend on Fox, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird. They're okay. Cubs and Cardinals, and then they're in London." I'm pretty locked in to Major League Baseball. I don't know if this was advertised properly, so I wanted to call that out.
Okay, that's fair. I do. Now that I think about it, I don't think I saw any advertisements for it, but I just remember seeing it on the schedule, and then was talking to someone from the UK that said, "Oh, are you watching the games this week?" That wasn't a good accent.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll work on that. Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell us about the series. Just
So for people who did know about it and, weren't like me and fumbled around and stumbled into it, Saturday, Sunday, Cubs, Cardinals, the two teams split the 2-game series. They played at West Ham United. There was 110,000 total people across those 2 games that came out. But I was listening to Ken Rosenthal, and he does Fair Territory on the Foul Territory channel. It's actually really good. You should listen to it. He was talking about, like, he was over there with the Fox crew, and he broke down kind of like the 2 groups of people that he thought comprised most of the audience at these games. It was like expats, which are like people from America that live in England, because they were all decked out in like the gear that you would see people in this country wearing to a baseball game. And then also he said just like tourists, just like American tourists just like came over. So it's like, he said he felt like most of the people there kind of fell into those 2 groups. Didn't really feel like a lot of like native UK people were there, just kind of like, oh, let's check this out. I did see the tweet though that you retweeted where it was like pregame PA announcer here at London Stadium. Remember, if you catch a foul ball during today's game, it is yours to keep. So gotta make sure the people in England don't like freak out because like, what am I? So I don't know.
What do I do with this?
You probably can't keep a soccer ball. I think you probably have to throw that back.
You have to throw it back. That's what I wrote. So
okay. Oh yeah, or a football as they call it. But just like I feel like this probably could lead to a larger conversation about like growing the game in this country is really hard. Like we're trying to get young people involved, all these things that we're doing. And baseball is just really trying hard to grow it internationally in markets that you really wouldn't think about, like UK baseball fans. So how much of an uphill climb do you feel like we face trying to grow MLB Europe?
I think they've done a good job of doing the series there. I did see some tweets saying we should have a team in London. Let's just squash that bug right now. We're not going to have any teams in the UK. I think that's way, way too much. Just the travel alone obviously would be insanity. But I think that does help bring a broader audience. I thought it was interesting that they said, though, a majority of the people that were there were actually people that came from America, took the trip over, and we're like, oh, I've always wanted to go to London and I'm a Cardinals fan, so might as well head over and watch the games while I'm there. I think, and it's interesting that you made the point that you didn't really know about it and it wasn't advertised here. I wonder what that advertisement looked like in the UK. I feel like if they do bigger advertisements over there, and even like creators on social media that live in the UK and can broadcast that a little bit more would be great. But I mean, we saw the WBC and how passionate people are about baseball from all over the world. I do feel like it's a little bit tougher to get those people to appreciate baseball as much as they do here, just because, I mean, soccer is obviously football top of mind there. But I thought the series was great. I do think it's going to be a little bit more challenging. Like, do you think Mets Phillies next year is a good call?
I mean, it's going to be like this year where people are going to forget that it's on the count. Like right now we know that it's Mets Phillies, but I guarantee next year we'll be so focused on baseball being played in this country that it'll pop up again and you'll turn on your TV on Saturday afternoon and they're like, hello from foggy London town. It's like, wait, what the hell? What? The Phillies are there. It just kind of feels like it feels really early in the process. And there's only 3 youth leagues in London that play like American baseball. I think I read it's like, we face such an uphill climb to try to grow the game. And I think the only real, and Ken Rosenthal made these points too, where he's like, what will really grow the game internationally in countries like London and in the UK, it's like countries like London, countries like the UK is like WBC, the Great Britain's upset of Colombia, the WBC with their uniforms with the tiniest, most generic font on the front of them. That did a lot. Just beating Colombia guaranteed that they're in the WBC next time around. So more exposure that way. And also just like stars from that country. Harry Ford, the Mariners' top prospect, the catcher, is from Georgia, but his parents were from the UK. So he's like somehow allowed to play for the UK. We just need guys like him that are like superstars from that country, willing to like drape themselves in the flag of that country, metaphorically speaking, and just be like what Shohei Ohtani is for Japanese baseball, or, insert Dominican superstar for the country of Dominican Republic. Like they need guys to be willing to be like, hey, I'm Captain UK. I almost said Captain America. But you know what I mean? Like they just need like a guy. I don't know.
Yes. because they talk about it all the time, how many fans support Shohei Ohtani, and he's like a celebrity when he goes back home. So I think that's actually a great point of bringing that back to here from the United States, of having someone there supporting them. I will say that although there wasn't a lot of advertisement leading up to it, I thought they did an outstanding job during the series. I mean, Derek Jeter debut on air was fantastic. They had Big Poppy joking around with him at the desk, giving him a Red Sox jersey with Jeter on the back. And if you're a Yankee fan, you know, Jeter was very composed when he was a player, didn't really give a lot to the media. And he said, "This is the worst gift I've ever received." So that part of it was great. They had so many legends there, so many great players, former players, excuse me. But I thought that part was a great job. They had, you know, like the players riding in the buses around London, doing interviews, mic'd up. That part was so fun. Again, I do think that advertisement, though, leading up to it could be a little bit better next year. I didn't even see like the Cardinals or the Cubs promote it that much on social media. And I follow all of these, unless I completely, me and Dawson completely.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, is there a way that we just like, we're in a coma for a week leading up to this and we woke up during the game? Like, there's gonna be people that are like, "Oh, what are you talking about? I saw this on Twitter." Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we blacked out and missed it. I don't know.
We could have blacked out and missed it. We're too zoned in on this podcast.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Also, Derek Jeter should shave that beard if he's a real Yankee for life. Anyway.
Don't even start.
Gotta work on the beard.
Gotta work on the beard, yes.
But yeah, I just feel like they wanted Paris 2 years from now. They're throwing around the idea of Paris for a series.
The French don't like us over there. I don't know how that's going to go over. They really don't like Americans.
Well, they're like, well, yeah, here's baseball. I'm sure that'll go over so great. I'm sure that will be advertised so heavily.
The French are going to be like, no, they're not coming. Sorry, they can't come over here. That's too many Americans. Absolutely not all at once.
Fox is making the graphics packages as we speak. Yeah, have a fun little Eiffel Tower gifs in there. So yeah, I just thought that was weird. It's a long way to go. I like the idea of it. I like the idea of growing the game internationally. I think that's what the game needs. But we gotta figure it out, because you can't just shoehorn 2 games that aren't really well advertised once a year and expect that to be like, hey, job well done, guys. We did it.
That's it. We grew the game this year.
Game's grown. Game's fully grown. Gotta work on that. Okay. So here's something that a team needs to work on. Yes. The San Diego Padres, they were left speechless when the Washington Nationals took 2 out of 3 in their weekend series in San Diego. That's the 3rd series in a row that the Padres have lost. They're 9.5 games out of first place. And I really so Ben and Woods, 97.3, The Fan in San Diego. If you're listening in California, shout out. Love you guys. They are friends of the show, and I wanted to listen to their show because they really have like a really good pulse of like Padres fans, more so than what you see on Twitter when they make fun of me for like an Eric Hosmer. But I was like, all right, so I listened on Monday, and Woods, I love this guy. He seems so down. He said Sunday was my worst day as a Padres fan this season. And he's worried that a lot of Padres fans are become apathetic and just stop caring because these losses keep piling up. They'll blow a team out. They'll score 10 runs one game, and then they'll get blown out the next game. And it's kind of like this weird 500 at best ball club right now. And it's just the team looks defeated. I'm trying to assess blame here, because that's what we as fans do. And that's what people in general do. We're like, whose fault is this? Why do we suck so bad? And I'm really conflicted. I have a couple theories, but I'll let you start. We'll kind of open this up here. Like, whose fault is this?
I have to blame either management or there's clearly some type of issue going on in the clubhouse, but I did some digging because I'm looking at, Justin and I talked about this when we first brought the Padres a couple weeks ago, and we said, are we hitting the panic button? Or are we not hitting the panic button? And it's like, you look at the numbers and you're going, how is this team not consistently winning? Okay. Juan Soto is hitting 296 in the month of June. Tatis is hitting 286. Machado is hitting 292 since returning from the IL. Bogart's 245 in his last 25 games. That's 4 solid bats right there in your lineup. Now, the bullpen, 3rd best ERA in baseball. So I'm like, okay, so we got the bullpen's taken care of. The hitting is taken care of. Starters averaging about a 4 ERA. I did do a little bit more digging because I'm like, okay, there must be something going on with the hitting, and the team is hitting 204 with RISP this season. So I feel like it's just like a matter of timely hits. But I do want to hear your thoughts, Justin.
You're right. The timely hitting's a problem. There's a lot of hitting like things that they need to work on. I think Wood said they're the worst hitting team this season against the fastball because their old buddy Mackenzie Gore, now Washington Nationals guy that they traded for Juan Soto, was great. He opened the game and he threw like 50. He struck out the first 6 Padres and he threw almost exclusively fastballs. And just like people everywhere freaking out. They're like, this is a lineup full of superstars and we can't hit a fastball. So that part's not great. So maybe all right, well, if we're, divvying it, you ever seen those TikToks where you get like a bowl and you're pouring in the water and it's just like, all right, we'll pour a little water in the bowl for the hitting part, for the fastballs thing. But Woods read off some stats that I also wanted to echo because I just could not believe them. The Padres are 8-30 when their opponent scores first. They're 5-13 in 1-run games, and they're 0-6 in extra inning games.
Wow.
And you're right. When I was trying to assess blame, I was looking at these MLB like team stats. So it's like pitching, pretty good. We're actually top 5 in most categories. Starter, reliever, offense. You knew what you're getting with the bottom of the order with like Trent Grisham and on their catcher. Or Austin Nola. Austin Nola's hitting 140, by the way. So you knew that those guys weren't really supposed to be carrying you guys. So they have other hitters. But I gotta look at management. I gotta look at Bob Melvin. I gotta look in the dugout. And you never talk about another man's job. But 1-run games, tight situations, clubhouse vibes, for lack of a better term, that's his job. And I know as soon as I'm going to put this out as a clip, and I guarantee Padres fans will start the hashtag fire AJ Preller on me, the GM. I don't think it's Preller's fault. I think he has some blame, but I don't think it's all of his fault.
So you think it's coming from inside the clubhouse?
I just think that, like, you look at Xander Bogaerts, the guy looked like a shell of a man.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just like what the whole team is. It's like they all look confused. Like, Manny Machado is coming out. I saw a video where he was like defending the hitting coaches. But just like these people that are saying AJ Preller can't construct a roster, where are the holes besides catcher and center field? Where are the holes on this roster?
Yes.
Like,
and I also think like it's extremely discouraging that they have such a high payroll. And Chris Bassett made an excellent point. I think he was on Foul Territory a couple of weeks ago, saying that when teams aren't succeeding and they're spending so much money, the players are like, well, this is just not going to give them an incentive to spend money on players anymore. And they're just not going to go out there and get top talent. So, because think about like the Orioles, the Rays, they're like, oh, see, we don't even need to spend money. We can just cruise and do well. So I feel like as a whole, it's just not good for baseball in general. That's a bold statement, but I'm going to say it.
There is a larger conversation to be had about large spending teams like this, but like at the end of the day too, it's like players have to play. Like Xander Bogaerts, he's having one of the worst offensive seasons of his career. Like Juan Soto started out of the gate pretty slow. You're relying on your rocks of your team to be better, and it's like it's not AJ Preller's fault. He brought the guys in here, and like there's certain parts of the roster you could assess blame to. He's not without blame. I'm not claiming that he's some sort of angel and is holier than thou, but I don't understand why people would look to and also GMs never get fired unless it's like egregious. The first person to go is the manager, which not talking about another man's job. So, but all I'm saying is that the Philadelphia Phillies made a change in the dugout last season. They went on a run and went to the World Series. So, you gotta light a fire. You gotta change the vibes up. Got to do something because this is a team. At the beginning of the season, I made so many videos like, oh my God, they're going to be the best team of all time. They're going to kick the Dodgers' ass again. It's going to be the best thing ever. And it's like, what are they, 9.5 out in June 27th? And they just kind of look like that 500 ball club. Like, a lot of expectations, not living up to them. It's a really complicated thing. And I was deep in Padres Twitter. I was like, I put the eye black on. I went full like Rambo. I came up out of the water. I was in Padres Twitter behind enemy lines. And it was all AJ Preller's fault, apparently. So
interesting.
What are you going to do?
But that's where they're placing blame.
Yeah. Almost universally. Like they'll point like they'll throw out like, well, Bob Melvin can only manage the players he's been given. He can only cook with the ingredients that he's been given or whatever.
What more ingredients do you need?
That's what I'm
saying.
saying.
They have to produce. Like it's the same thing with the freaking Yankees. Like, I don't understand. Like, blame the players then.
Yeah, blame the players, but getting the most out of players is a coaching thing.
Yes.
Like he like AJ Preller literally went out and like, did they need Xander Bogaerts? Technically, no. They could have run Ha-Seong Kim back out there and ran back the same, or put Tatis at shortstop and been perfectly fine. But they wanted to ball out and spend big, and I love that move at the time. Unfortunately, I haven't for like 10 more years. But yeah, Xander Bogaerts hitting 256 right now. His OPS plus is, it's 105, but you're not paying him for 10 more years to be a league average hitter with 8 home runs. It's insane. Like, should Preller have brought in Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz, who are at the tail end of their career, who are not hitting, neither of them? Probably not. But like, I don't know. Like, this is just frustrating. And I feel like as soon as we get back into Padres Twitter, I'm going to regret everything that I've ever said, because they're going to come from a throat again. So yeah, I don't know. It's a hard thing. It's a hard pill to swallow right now if you're a San Diego Padres fan.
Yeah, it just a rough couple months, especially when during the offseason you have such high hopes, such high expectations, especially how they did last year. They go out, they spend big, and then this is what's happening on the field. So 13-12 in the last 25 games, averaging 4.8 runs a game. Again, the numbers aren't even terrible. Like, you would think some of these hitters are all hitting under, like, all below average, but it's tough. It's like there are certain puzzles that just aren't fitting for the Padres right now. And I think you're right. It comes from inside the clubhouse, comes from the coach. They got to figure it out. We'll see. I mean, teams going to tear after the All-Star break, so there is still plenty of time. See what they do with the trade deadline. Not that I think they should be spending anything else, but we'll see. Only time will tell.
I don't think they're going to spend. I don't think they should subtract. I hope they don't subtract for this team. But I think Xander Bogaerts said himself, he's like, there's not a lot of tomorrows left, because we keep using that old adage, like, hey, a lot of baseball left. It's pretty early in the season. I love, when my team was bad, saying how early it was. Yeah. I would keep saying that up until like September. Hey, exactly. It's still early. So yeah, the Padres have to get it figured out. We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from the official sponsor of Not For Long Media and the Breaking Bats podcast, the Original Fudge Kitchen. It is a staple of the Jersey Shore with 6 locations in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. The Original Fudge Kitchen makes all of their fudge in-store, guaranteeing a delicious product, so stop by and let them know that Not For Long Media and Breaking Bats sent you. Check them out online at fudgekitchens.com, as they are shipping fudge and sweet treats all across the country. Now back to the episode. I want to switch gears, though, because you mentioned the Yankees, and I wanted to talk a little bit about them, because when we had Brian on last week, he talked about how Aaron Boone has his players' backs. He will never go in front of the media and badmouth a single player. That leads to the veterans and all these the players liking him as a manager. But Josh Donaldson, I think we talked about it earlier, 3rd consecutive game on Sunday, he didn't play. So Aaron Boone won't publicly like badmouth him, but his actions, speak louder than words in this regard. And they're just not going to play Josh Donaldson anymore. Yeah.
So I'm going to just set the scene for Yankee fans, because it was a bit of a frenzy on Twitter the other day when JD didn't start, because Aaron Boone was supposed to come out for the pregame press conference. All the reporters are going, Aaron Boone is not here. He's late to the pregame meeting. What's going on? If anyone's ever been on Yankees Twitter, it is the most chaotic place you will ever be. It's from the Yankees are the best team in baseball, they're winning the World Series, to sell the team, rebuilding year, Aaron Judge is on the IL, we're not winning a single game for the remainder of the season. So you get 2 spectrums. So of course, Yankees Twitter goes, Donaldson's getting DFA'd. That's what's happening. He's having a meeting with Josh Donaldson. Donaldson's getting DFA'd, because that's who he was talking to. They said, oh, he was sorry, I was in a meeting with JD. Of course, that's all what Yankees Twitter seems to think is occurring. After the game, JD comes out to the media and they're asking him, like, oh, what were you guys talking about? Like, Meredith's asking him questions. He's getting very short with all the reporters saying, yeah, you guys are like really making this out to be something that it's just not. I'm just going to keep working hard every day. Like, do whatever I'm told. And, if I'm a bench player, it's fine. But Aaron Boone then came out to the media and said, JD's going to play a lot this season. So I'm not really sure what's happening with Josh Donaldson. In my opinion, they're going to roll him out at third base up until the All-Star break, maybe even a week or two after that. And if he's still not hitting consistently as he hasn't for a year now. For an entire year, he has not been hitting consistently. But if he's still struggling at the plate, I think DJ will play third base, or there's been rumors that they'll call up Peraza. So I don't foresee JD playing that long. And for everyone, I'm just going to make this crystal clear. Anyone saying that they're going to DFA him, they are absolutely not. He is the second highest paid position player. I mean, if you take Aaron Judge out of the equation, Judge, Stanton, JD is technically the third highest position player on the Yankees. So he has still plenty of money left. He's literally not going anywhere. That is my Josh Donaldson rant.
That was going to be my question to you. I was just thinking, like, it's so easy as fans when you have a player on your team that was struggling. And for so many years, it was the Orioles and Chris Davis. And every single year, they're like, why can't we just cut this guy, buy him a train ticket out of town? Like, it's not that easy, especially when you have a large contract or you're paying him a lot per year, like the Yankees are, or like what the Orioles were doing with Chris Davis. Like, it's not as easy as you can't wave a magic wand and make the guy that sucks, make the bad man go away more often than not. Yes. But God, I looked at Josh Donaldson's numbers this year. They're abysmal. He's 6 for 48 with a 125 average. He has one hit in his past 47 at bats with a guy on base. So I don't know what it is. This is an all-star player. I mean, up until like the last season, he was on the Twins, 26 bombs, 250 average. Like the Yankees have done something to him, or maybe he's just progressing or degressing as a player. But so yeah, if he's full-time bench, if he's the vibes guy giving out gum and sunflower seeds on the bench for the rest of the season, like do you feel confident in whatever they can patch together for third base? I
think if DJ gets the hitting back and he's a little bit more consistently at the plate, third base will be fine. My thing is, I can feel the Twitter comment section. Okay, JD is a very good defensive third baseman, like makes plays, excuse my language, literally out of his ass. So I do like him defensively on defense, because you're watching a game and you're like, that's a base hit, that's a base hit, that's a base hit, but JD gets to it. So the problem is that since they don't have Judge in the lineup, you can't really afford to have another hole of lack of offensive production. So they're going to need someone that's both hitting consistently and playing defense consistently. So again, I think it's going to be DJ. You guys never know. IKF played third base on the Rangers. So we could send him out there to third base. Peraza could get called up. He could go play third base. There are options. IKF is turning into the world's best utility player on the planet, including pitching. So just Yankee fans, have no fear. Everything is going to be fine, as I always say. I'm Yankees PR department, if anyone was wondering.
You are spin zone. Yeah, I looked up 7 defensive runs saved this year for Josh Donaldson. That's very good. Yeah, pretty slick still at 37 years old. Still command the hot corner. I saw a graphic since Judge went out. We should probably talk about Aaron Judge a little bit too. Since June 4th, Donaldson 4 for 40. LeMahieu 7 for 42. Stanton 6 for 55. So we're not killing it without Aaron Judge. Also, when is he coming back? I feel like he's never coming back.
Okay. I'm going to try and keep this a little bit brief. So it came out on Saturday that Judge has torn a ligament in his toe. Now, I'm not a science person, so of course I hurled myself off the Brooklyn Bridge when I heard that news. But then I called my sister and she said, well, when he said he sprained his toe, that's the equivalent to tearing a ligament. It's the same definition. So he tore a ligament in his toe. But Yankee fans were freaking out because Boone said, coming back in a couple days. He's starting baseball activity. A couple days, Judge is coming back. And then it's going to be like another week. And then it was, I hope he comes back this season, but I can't make any guarantees. I think he's going to come back this season, but I can't guarantee anyone. So my prediction, because Justin and I love to make predictions on the New York Yankees. My prediction is Judge comes back. I'm going right now, July after the All-Star break. I'm going to go July 20th. But he can only DH. He can only DH. He's not playing the outfield yet.
They're off on the 20th.
Of course they are. All right, I'll go July 21st. How's that? Are they playing?
Okay, that's a home game. That's Friday against the Royals. That's Nestor Cortez bobblehead night for you fans playing along at home. I think you need a little bit more time.
No. You're like, he's coming back February of 2024.
I think Aaron Judge is coming back. This is good. Ooh, here we go.
Okay.
August 20th. Bear with me.
No.
That's a Sunday 1:35 start against the Red Sox. It's Roger Maris number 61 bobblehead day.
Oh, he has to come back then.
How poetic would that be?
That would be beautiful.
Oh, could you imagine? Like, you can't script it better than that. Aaron Judge comes back. His toes completely healed. They've patched all the walls in Major League Baseball because I think that's what did it, because it was the Dodger Stadium wall, I think, that had a gap. So Major League Baseball has enough time to put Flex Seal and all. I don't know what they need to do to fix all these walls, but they fix every wall. He comes back, hits a home run against the Red Sox. You do have to wait until August 20th, though. But, I mean,
we're not waiting 2 months.
Well, you might have to, because the man's got weak feet.
Wait, did you see, though, on Twitter, people were like, this is getting very specific. They were going, well, with his height, and he's like almost 300 pounds because he's a 6'7", you know, that's a really serious issue, because if he doesn't get it fixed, keep in mind, we got him for like another 9 years. So it's a little concerning if we have a hurt Aaron Judge. I don't want to hurt Aaron Judge. I want a fully healthy Aaron Judge. And now I'm very nervous. But I will say this, it does not mean the Yankees are out. And no, we should not just sell the team. We're not just selling. We're not selling at the trade deadline. We're buying Juan Soto from the Padres.
Hey, every team thinks they're buyers until they're not, until they look in the mirror, get a cold, hard dose of reality and say, hey, it's not our year. I'm just throwing that out there. Like, you know, there's been many a year where I've thought the Orioles should be buyers and they end up being sellers. So, not this year though, because of the play of former Yankee, now current Orioles sensation, Aaron Hicks. And look, I'm man enough. We throw a lot of takes out on this show. Not all of them land. And I've been waiting. I've been trying to delay this, to delay the inevitable. I was wrong about Aaron Hicks. It's like the Shaq meme. I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game.
You do.
That's Photoshop my face over Shaq for doing that as a meme. Because I said at the time, oh, this guy's the king of 5-game hot streaks. This guy will light the world on fire. Then he'll go back to hitting 210 and dropping everything in the outfield. No, it's been rock solid in 22 games with the O's, 284 average, 937 OPS, 7 extra base hits, 4 home runs. And last week he had homered 4 RBIs against the Rays. It was a bad day for people like me. And look, I wasn't rooting for Aaron Hicks to be bad. I just I knew who Aaron Hicks was. But I think enough time has passed, and I'm going to be man enough here. I'm going to put my hand up and say I was wrong. That was a bad take. I think Aaron Hicks is a pretty good ball player now.
I respect you for that. I think he's going to go on a tear. Cedric Mullins is back though, so I don't know where they're putting Hicksy personally, but I think I'm happy for him. Although people were saying on Twitter that, oh yeah, he just couldn't play in New York, like couldn't handle the pinstripes. He played in New York, so, and he could handle it at one point, but maybe that does fade. I'm very curious about that. So we'll ask the people on when they can comment on this. Do you think that fades? Do you think the pressure becomes eventually too much? Because at one point he was doing okay. He was doing okay in New York. Now he wants to have the Orioles magic. So I'm proud of Hicksy. Go Hicks.
Absolutely. This is now a pro Aaron Hicks podcast.
Yes.
Mostly because he's on my team. Go Birds. But like we talked about like Mike Elias at the time when they signed him. He's like, hey, we see stuff that's not on the back of the baseball card. We have some proprietary algorithm. I think I called it wizardry at the time. It's like, hey, we see something you guys can't because you guys are dumb and we're not. And I was like, oh yeah, real. Okay, Mike Elias, sure. Play that card. They do. I don't know what they have. I don't know what kind of analytics. I was on Baseball Savant all afternoon looking at percentile rankings for people. Like they have access to things that we as common people don't. Mm-hmm. So we have to figure that out. But going back to your point though, about just like playing in New York, it absolutely, because the Yankees fans were like mercilessly booing, hissing at him, probably like throwing things. Like it was just like one thing after another. And that like probably mentally broke him. So that's your fault.
Yeah. But it's not just my fault.
As a representative from the Yankees delegation, you guys did this to him.
It's true. I mean, I think not the pressure kind of got to him, but it's tough when you're consistently doing so poorly on your team, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
Joey Gallo can't handle the pinstripes. All right. Sonny Gray couldn't handle the pin. Some people just can't do it. You know who can? Harrison Bader can handle the pinstripes. Some people thrive in New York. Other people, it's a tough market to play in. It's difficult. Can't all play
Everybody
here.
can do it.
That's why it's the best city in the world.
Okay,
Speaking
well,
of
that's
which.
debatable. Brandon Hyde, Orioles manager, fantastic quote. We'll wrap this up with this. He said he credits the Orioles culture for Aaron Hicks' turnaround. He said, "I want to believe that we have an environment that allows players to be themselves and be comfortable. He's a total pro and super supportive of his teammates here, and they've been supportive of him right now. It's been a really good fit." And Felix Bautista said he's one of us now. One of us. One of us.
They love him. They're embracing it.
Absolutely. He got to grow the beard out. Maybe that's it. Maybe people really just want to grow the beard out. Gallo had the beard.
It's the beard.
Hicks has the beard.
Mm-hmm.
Loosen the facial hair policy up a little bit. Jesus.
No, I like that. I will stand on that hill until the day I die. I like the facial hair policy. I think it's nice. It's tradition. It's tradition.
The way the game used to be. Yeah. Okay.
The way the game should be.
Yeah, the way the game should be.
Everyone should be shaved.
Clean shave, crew cut, mustache if you're feeling it, but probably not. Who the hell wears a mustache anymore? We're just going to keep the Yankees talk going here because it's time for our Anthony Volpe update. We need to have music or like lasers or pew, 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 or like a Reggaetron horn or something. Maybe we'll add that in post. Because I saw a tweet from Joe Randazzo, Anthony Volpe after the chicken parm of destiny. Sorry, it's just a funny, he tweeted that. He was like trying to be serious. Since that series with the Mets, Volpe's hitting 258, 378 on base, 484 slugging, 143 weighted runs created plus for all you stat people out there. He's still striking out a ton though, but I mean, chicken parm destiny, that might just be the cure for everybody.
Yeah. Shout out Austin Wells. He was the one who helped him out. Top prospect for the New York Yankees, catcher, helped him out with that. I was watching the Rangers game on Sunday and I said, if Volpe can he doesn't have to hit home runs. He doesn't have to hit that. He just needs to get on base. If he can put the ball in play a little bit more, get the strikeout rate down a little bit, put the ball in play, walk. I don't really care. Just find a way to get on base. The pitchers get so rattled when he is on base, like absolutely rattled. David Cohn made such a great point. He said, as a pitcher, that is very hard. It's very hard to concentrate on the batter when you have someone with speed like that on the bases. Also, I mean, shout out Anthony Volpe. He fully dances on the base path. Like he jumps around on first. He dekes guys out on second. That is very frustrating as a pitcher. And it's an advantage also towards the batter, like the next batter up, because not throwing as consistently strikes, maybe makes a mistake. Next batter can get a hit. And then obviously Volpe can score from second easily, even score from first on like a gap shot. So we just need him to get on base a little bit more and all will be well with the world. And then the big guys, Stanton, Rizzo, Deej, Glabe can get him in and everything's fine. So I'm happy. The trajectory is going up. At least he's not going down. If he was going down, that'd be a little concerning. But then again, when we went over it, we were like, can it get any worse than this? It's going up.
That was all great. That was all beautiful. People on Twitter, though, or the Instagram comment section, they will just say that he's hitting 195. And that they think that that makes them win the argument. Anytime we're like, hey, this Anthony Volpe guy's pretty good, huh? 195. Look, there's still a lot of things he has to figure out, the 195 being one of them. Also, he's the 24th highest strikeout percentage in baseball. Strikes out 31% of the time. Yes. And he has the 13th most total strikeouts in the game itself. But as you've said, it's just a kid. He's the first Yankee rookie to have at least 10 homers and 15 steals since Alfonso Soriano. So, like, I'm just going to keep beating this drum. He does enough, like you said, on the base pass with the long ball. The defense, I feel like, is still pretty good. The strikeout thing's bad, though. We can't sugarcoat that. That's bad.
No. The strikeout thing's bad. And I think it's getting a little bit better, but in the beginning, it was like a running joke on Twitter. Like he just really gets to 0-2 very, very quickly. But again, I think it's getting better. Positivity going up. And again, Yankee fans, you didn't have a shortstop. You had to call up Volpe, and they're all going to say, well, you could have called up Peraza. He was doing so well in AAA. Well, but you all wanted Volpe. And sometimes I think management is going, we're just giving you what we asked for, what you guys asked for. So now we're not going to send him down. He's here to stay. He's here to stay all season just because you guys asked for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You guys did this.
You did it.
You did this. Let's go across town. Let's talk about the New York Mets, because the New York Mets have been Metsing again. Mm-hmm. And shout out Frank the Tank. That video on Sunday was an all-time. I don't know if you saw this. Noted New York Mets fan Frank the Tank Fleming went on an epic rant. It was one of his all-time favorites. So please go look at that if you haven't already. They are 35-43 on the season, but Sunday against the Phillies, dear God, they had a 3-run lead in the 8th. The bullpen was in a weird spot. They couldn't 2 out of their 3 best ones. Also, it's just hilarious that they only have 3 good relievers and they have a $500 million payroll. Yeah. So Buck had to go to like a rookie and like a journeyman in the 8th. They give up 4 runs. They blow the lead. The Phillies win. And Mets fans like Frank the Tank are screaming at their televisions. Fangraphs, 12.7% chance of making the playoffs. That feels high. And also a 0.1% chance of winning the division. I don't know what you do if you're the Mets. I mean, we can talk about a little blame, do like with the Padres, a little blame, a little what they can do. They're just being the Mets again.
They're being the Mets again. It's funny. I did a little funny video on TikTok saying, as anyone checked on their Mets fans, you guys had to see the comments. They were like, well, half were going, I expected this. The other half were going, please, can we not talk about it? Like, I'm just patiently waiting for football season. That is what gets me so upset, is when people just write off their team and say, oh, well, we're just gonna wait for football season now. If I'm placing blame, Mets rotation produced 5.01 ERA, better than only 4 other teams. And you would think some of the best pitchers in baseball. Underlying numbers obviously don't look promising either. High home run and walk rates. It's not looking good for the Mets. Again, I want to blame the pitchers, but then on the flip side, it's not like the offense is putting up a serious amount of runs. However, I will say this. I was reading an article from The Athletic. Shout out The Athletic. Go support your local journalism. That's not an ad, I promise. But the clubhouse seems good. The clubhouse seems good. Lindor is saying it's going to be fine. Scherzer thinks they can figure it out. Verlander saying, we joke around, we play pool. The clubhouse vibes are high. So if the vibes are high, why are you playing so low is my question. Who are you placing blame on? I'm very curious to hear your answer. It's tough.
I don't want to put a lot of it on Buck Showalter. I'm sure you could probably nitpick some of his managerial decisions and say, oh, he should have went to David Robertson because he was warming up. And, in that game on Sunday against the Phillies, it's like what they did in the wild card game, the Orioles, when they should have put Zach Britton in, they put Ubaldo. Dear God. I don't know if it's exactly like that, because the situation that Buck finds himself in a lot of these times with his relievers and his bullpen is like, if 2 out of 3 of the good ones can't pitch that day, and the one that can is only limited to an inning because he had just pitched the day before, you kind of have to trot the rookie and the journeyman out there. Like, that's not necessarily a Buck thing. That's where the team roster construction becomes called into question, because you can't have a payroll that high and only have a couple guys that can be counted on. And also, I mean, just Scherzer and Verlander. I mean, good God, you're paying these guys $86 million combined per year, and they're like league average, like a really bad start, a pretty good start, an ERA that's like 4. You expected these guys to be the horses, the frontline ace 2 ERA postseason dominant guys, and you're paying $86 million for what you could probably get in AAA right now. That's a Steve Cohen, that's in management, that upper level management, that you can't, that's a roster construction thing, in my opinion.
Yes. I will say this, because I do feel like the Mets fans need something positive. And I found this from The Athletic. Phillies once were 8 games below 500 last season, then mounted a 9-game winning streak in early June, snatched a playoff spot, won the pennant. 2021, Braves needed until August to get over 500, built a 9-game winning streak that month, captured the division, won the World Series. 2019, Nationals once fell a dozen games under 500, waited until the final week of June to sustain a winning record, and yet hoisted the Commissioner's Trophy. So let's just, as always, we take a deep breath. I always say you can't really panic until August, like end of August, I would say. So they have time. The teams turn it around. That is you guys have to see the face Justin is giving me right now. I think they can do those stats made me feel better. If I were a Mets fan, that would have made me feel better.
Are they catching the Braves? Or
No,
are they
they're not
making a run for a wild? They're not making a run for a wild card. Like, I just feel
You
bad.
never
But like,
know.
yeah, I know. And like, believe me, here's the thing with like those teams you mentioned. It's like the Nationals. They started 19-31 famously. They came back to win it all. It's like, I feel like those examples give teams false hope, or like teams fans false hope. It's like, well, hey, the Nationals were the worst team ever, and look what they did. And the Phillies fired their manager, and look what they did. It's like, I don't know. I don't necessarily buy into that. I feel bad because I like Buck Showalter, but just the whole team, just things like reeks of like a 500, like the Padres, like a 500 ball club at best. And they can't trade for anybody because they don't want to trade their prospects. They can't sell because like a lot of their guys like can't really deal from the rotation because who wants $43 million worth of Verlander right now? It's like probably not. They're just going to have to ride it out. At least the vibes are high though. So that's a good thing.
Vibes are high. Vibes are high. I think the Mets could do it. I think they can at least turn around a little bit. You never know. Verlander and Scherzer can just go off and be the old Cy Young Verlander from last season.
Well, I think this is a point we made earlier. It's just like Mets fans wanted Steve Cohen to spend big, and he spent big.
Yeah.
So, like, he did exactly what you guys wanted, but that still doesn't mean that they shouldn't have spent the payroll of some teams on a guy that's 40 years old. So, it's a tough spot to be in. Also, yeah, you're probably seeing a lot of it being in the New York area there. So, yes. Thoughts and prayers to your comment section during this difficult time. It's rough out here. All right, let's change gears. Let's get the vibes going. Let's get the positivity. Let's get the positive vibes flowing right now because now time for Say Something Nice About. For this week, I will kick us off because I love finding under the radar stories about guys that are bouncing back, fighting adversity, like overcoming all odds. And this week is Julio Teheran. You may remember Julio Teheran, really, really good years for the Braves. I think he's a two-time All-Star, model of consistency. Only 3 pitchers made at least 30 starts between 2013 and 2019. Or 3 other pitchers did that, and he was one of them, so 4 total. 2020, he caught COVID, and then the lingering effects of COVID really messed with him that year. His ERA was like, I think in the 10s, zapped him of his effectiveness that really had like the past decade basically had been awesome. So that was 2020. 2021, he got hurt. He hurt his shoulder. He had to drop his arm slot, learn a cutter. And then he had to go to the independent league. He had to go to the Mexican league. The Padres took a chance on him, put him in AAA. Still really didn't do that great. He got bought out of his contract, but it was the Milwaukee Brewers. And if you remember a couple weeks ago, the Milwaukee Brewers I talked about gave John Singleton a chance to get back to the majors after I think an 8-year gap. The Brewers took another chance on Teheran because they had rotation injuries. They signed him to the rotation. His numbers this year are fantastic. I have him in fantasy baseball. Shout out. 6 starts, 1.53 ERA, 0.877 whip, all with a fastball that rarely breaks 90. So, I mean, this is a classic case of betting on yourself. This guy knew he could do it. I don't think he thought that you could have a 1.5 ERA at this point, but I love it. I love Julio Teheran. And if he's out there, pick him up in your fantasy baseball league.
Okay. My Say Something Nice is a little bit different this week as opposed to I had a different one in mind, but then I saw this tweet this morning and I said, all right, this is a story that has to be told because I feel like it doesn't get enough publicity and it's not going to get an article written about it. But Josh Young, obviously, no question in my book, 2023 Rookie of the Year. So Rangers fell to the Tigers last night 7-2 after losing series to the Yankees this past weekend. Josh Young went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts at the plate and like 0 for 16 in his last 25 appearances, something weird like that. I saw that on Twitter. So then one of the beat reporters tweeted out today, after the game last night, Josh Young was standing on the field by himself with a tee, just hitting after the game. I thought that was such a nice story. And I literally saw that tweet. I'm like, this is just going to go unnoticed. Nobody's even going to hear about it. But I'm just so impressed with that, especially like he's been so successful this season. He does not have to do that, take extra reps at the plate, but over 4 strikeouts. And he's like, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to take some reps off the tee. That is why, in my opinion, rookie of the year, and I do believe he should start in the All-Star game. Yeah, say something nice.
I love that. I'm a big Josh Young guy. Yeah, it's
Thanks.
also sneaky funny too. He did a mic'd up thing for the Rangers where he had to go around and just like him interacting with his teammates. It's hilarious. So please check that out. But yeah, big Josh Young fans over here. All right, we're gonna end the week with a couple rants. So I don't know if you guys checked out the College World Series. Shout out the LSU Tigers for winning. It was a fantastic series. Went 3 games. And the 2 best players on LSU are also the 2 best players in the country. It's pitcher Paul Skeens and his outfielder Dylan Cruz. Dylan Cruz took home the Golden Spikes Award for the best amateur player in the country. That all leads to the MLB draft, which don't forget, it's coming up. Draft is now during All-Star week. Instead of being early June in Secaucus, New Jersey, they do it in a big stage during the All-Star week. But there's a large conversation right now about who the Pittsburgh Pirates should take with the number 1 overall pick. Should it be Paul Skeens, 100+ mile an hour fastball, electric, the next Steven Strasburg, or is it going to be Dylan Cruz, who had like 5 hits a game, it felt like, for the College World Series run there. And I know like people will say like, you know, Paul Skeens is the guy. He's the best pitcher ever. The Pirates need pitching. I don't think so. I think they should go with Dylan Cruz. And I'll tell you why. Because this year the Pirates are 26th in the league in runs scored. They're 23rd in OPS and 23rd in runs per game. Only 4.06. We talked about this last week. They had to call up Henry Davis, a catcher, only to hit. Don't bring your glove to the field, Henry, or don't bring your catcher's mitt to the field because you're only going to be playing right field and DH. Swing the bat. And it's like, if they're doing that with like some of their first round picks, like why not do it with an actual outfielder he's got a 70 grade hit tool. It's the best bat in the country. I know there's like this allure of like, oh wow, Paul Skeens could light up the radar gun. He's a horse. He's an ace. He's Garrett Cole, Strasburg, whatever. But also don't listen to what you're seeing on Twitter about Dylan Cruz doesn't want to go to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I've seen that so often. People are like, oh, it's rumored Dylan Cruz says if the Pirates draft a number 1, it's not going to sign there. Doesn't like Pittsburgh as an organization. That's all BS. I think what they were referencing was Dylan Cruz said he doesn't want to take less money just to be the number 1 overall pick. Like he doesn't want to be lowballed and underslotted or whatever. He wants his full number 1 top dollar. I think that's what he had nothing to do with the Pirates. The Pirates organizationally are trending upward. They're finally giving money to people now. So yeah, don't listen to any of that. Draft Dylan Cruz. It'll be the best thing ever. And I'm not saying that as a Nationals fan who really wants Paul Skeens on their team. So end of rant.
I like that. I agree. Excellent rant. I'm so excited for the draft. I like that it's going to be on the big stage this year. I'm pumped for it.
Best.
All right. Brace yourselves, people. Here's my rant. So in case you missed it, Angels defeated the Rockies this past weekend, 25-1, 13 runs in the 3rd inning. Absolute insanity. Very happy for myself that wasn't the Yankees because I don't know what I would have done. I'm going to be totally honest. I got a lot of tweets. Got a lot of comments saying I should run for the Angels. No, guys, it's only the Yankees. Only will ever be the Yankees. Sorry. Now, I did see something that I want to address. Twitter was saying, you know, when are they just going to like pump the brakes? Like you're already winning by that much. Like I don't understand why. When should a team pump the brakes in a game? Never. Absolutely never. And it's for a couple of reasons. There's that. And there's also, again, what is this? Softball? People were tweeting, there's no mercy rule in baseball. No, there's no mercy rule. This is professional baseball. There is no mercy rule in the sport. You give up 25 runs? Sorry, you got to sit through a full 9-inning game. If you don't want to sit through a full nine-inning game when you're losing by 24 runs, maybe play better. I don't know. Just a thought, concept. There are a couple of reasons why there's no mercy rule and why we're not just going to reel back on the players, right? We're not just going to say, oh, they're only going to go 1 bag. Couple of reasons. Again, one is that people, the fans, paying money to go to the game. So what? We're just going to say, oh, nope, 5th inning, send them home. Sorry, it was a blowout. You only got your money's worth for 5 innings. That just wouldn't work. And there are records, there are players that make money due to how well they do in a season. Get a couple extra, $1,000 if you get a little bit more RBI. So if you're going to say, well, don't send the runner from second if it's a base hit. No, he needs that RBI. I also want to make note that Shohei Ohtani in that game went like 1 for 7. So 25-1. Can you imagine if Shohei had like 3 or 4 hits? That game just would have been an absolute nightmare. But yes, records to be broken, titles people are chasing. No, we're not reeling anyone in. If you don't want that to happen, play better. Same thing with the people in the minor leagues. Ben Verlander was saying this on his podcast last week. They always told them in the minor leagues, you don't like the travel in single A, then I don't know, play better. Double A travel gets better. Triple A travel gets better. And then obviously professional travel gets better. So no, we're never reeling anyone in. You're going to just keep playing. And if it's a 30-run game, a 35-run game, it doesn't really matter. I don't know, pitch better. Rant over. Justin's laughing.
My favorite part about all of this was just like when the Rockies traded Mike Moustakas to the Angels, like right after the game. And people on Twitter are like, that's what happens when you lose. By the other team scores 25 runs. You have to give them your best player.
That's the compensation.
Yeah. I think they absolutely should do that. The Orioles, I remember as a kid, they famously lost 30-3 to the Texas Rangers. It's one of the most lopsided defeats of all time.
Yeah.
It was like 06 or 07. Yeah, it was tough. I was like 10 years old at the time. I was like, Dad, why do they just won't stop running around the bases? Make it stop. It's great.
Dad, I don't want to watch anymore.
That was a quick turn off. That was a quick, let's see what else is going on tonight. Yeah, that was bad. But yeah, the people that are saying mercy roll are hilarious. That's just
mercy roll.
Not how baseball works.
No.
Sorry.
No mercy rolls here.
Ugh.
Sorry. Play
Covered
better.
a lot of ground this week. Yeah, play better.
Yes.
Hey, it's like what was it? It was like when Madison Bumgarner and Max Muncy were going at it, and he's like, "Hey, if you don't like me pimping this homer, then go get it out of the bay."
Yeah. Just like Clayton Kershaw meme on the Jumbotron. He said, well, I should just pitch better. If I don't want me crying on the Jumbotron after the game, I should just pitch better.
That's a pro's pro right there.
Yes.
Well, cool. Okay. Cover a lot of ground this week. Assess some blame. Took accountability for our takes. We did a lot this week. So with that all being said, thank you for listening, and we will see you guys. Ooh, wait. Next week, 4th of July week, there's not going to be an episode next week. Stay tuned for a TikTok live coming because we are all on vacation due to the 4th of July holiday. Happy birthday, America. So we will see you guys in a couple weeks